There is a child sitting in a classroom right now who cannot pay attention. The teacher is talking. The board is full of notes. And this child is somewhere else entirely, building something in their head, solving a problem no one asked them to solve, lost in a world the classroom doesn't have room for. The adults in their life are worried. The grades say one thing. But watch that same child the moment the bell rings. Something switches on. That switch is not a coincidence. It is not a phase. And it is definitely not a sign that something is wrong with them. It is actually evidence of something remarkable happening inside their brain, something that the traditional classroom was never designed to reach. Your child's boredom might be the most misread signal in modern education. Here is what is actually going on. The human brain is not one learning system. It is many. And for most of the last century, schools have been training one of them almost exclusively. That system is called explicit memory, the kind that stores facts, dates, formulas, and vocabulary. It is measured easily. It fits neatly into tests. It responds well to repetition and instruction. So schools built themselves around it. But there is another system. Psychologists call it implicit learning. And this is where things get strange. Implicit learning does not happen when you sit down and try. It happens when you engage, explore, create, fail, adjust, and try again. It thrives on novelty. It deepens through emotion. It is the system that taught you to ride a bike without anyone explaining the physics of balance. It is the system that built your instincts, your intuitions, your automatic abilities. And for some children, it is the dominant system. It is the system they run on. When that child is in a classroom being asked to copy notes from a board, their dominant learning system is sitting idle. It has nothing to do. So what does a brain do when it has nothing to do? It finds something. It wanders. It builds. It daydreams. The teacher sees distraction. The brain is actually doing exactly what it was designed to do. Researchers at the University of British Columbia, led by Kalina Christoph, discovered that the brain's default mode network, the network that activates when we appear to be doing nothing, is actually one of the most metabolically demanding states the brain can enter. When a child stares out the window, their prefrontal cortex, their posterior cingulate, their medial temporal lobes are all firing at high levels. They are not switched off. They are running a different program. A more complex one. One that involves self-referential thinking, imaginative simulation, and spontaneous problem solving. In other words, they are doing something that many standardized classrooms have no grade for. But why does this happen to some children more than others? The answer goes back to the way individual brains are wired. In 2005, psychologist Daria Zabalina, then at the University of New Mexico, began studying a trait called latent inhibition, the brain's ability to filter out information it has already decided is irrelevant. Most people have high latent inhibition. Their brains are efficient. They see a table and they log it as a table and move on. They do not spend time thinking about the weight of the wood, the grain of the surface, or what it would feel like to build one from scratch. Their brain handles it quickly and gets back to the task at hand. Children, and adults, with low latent inhibition take in more. Their brain filters less. A table is not just a table. The classroom is not just a classroom. Every stimulus has potential. Every object is interesting. Every sound competes for attention. This trait is strongly associated with creativity, original thinking, and the ability to make unexpected connections across unrelated domains. It is also strongly associated with difficulty concentrating in environments with constant low-level stimulation, like a classroom. These children are not broken. Their filter is set differently. And in the right environment, that filter setting is an extraordinary advantage. Howard Gardner, the developmental psychologist at Harvard University, spent decades arguing that intelligence is not a single dimension measured on a single scale. His theory of multiple intelligences, introduced in 1983, proposed that human cognitive ability comes in many distinct forms: linguistic, logical-mathematical, spatial, musical, bodily kinesthetic, interpersonal, and more. The traditional school, he argued, measures roughly 2 of these with any consistency. Children whose strengths live in the others are invisible to the system. Not unintelligent. Invisible. A child who builds elaborate machines from spare parts in the garage is demonstrating spatial and mechanical reasoning at a high level. A child who choreographs detailed imaginary worlds for their toys is exercising narrative intelligence, perspective-taking, and world-building skills that novelists spend careers trying to develop. A child who can calm an anxious pet, navigate a friend group, or sense when a parent is upset before anyone says a word is operating with high emotional intelligence, a cognitive skill more predictive of life outcomes than most of what gets tested in schools. None of these things show up on a report card. So parents worry. Teachers note the underperformance. And the child slowly begins to absorb a story about themselves that does not match what they experience in their own head. This is where the damage quietly begins. Carol Dweck at Stanford University has spent her career studying what happens to children who are given the wrong story about their intelligence. Her research on mindset shows that children who are told they are not smart, or who are implicitly shown, through grades and ranking, that they fall short, begin to avoid challenges. They stop taking intellectual risks. They protect themselves from further evidence of failure. The learning system that needed to be activated through engagement and exploration becomes even harder to reach, because now there is fear in the way. But something happens outside the classroom that does not happen inside it. Outside, there is no grade waiting. Outside, there is no wrong answer in the next 5 minutes. Outside, a child can try something, fail at it, try again differently, fail again, build something that collapses, and build it again without any adult marking their performance. The brain unlocks. The implicit learning system fires. The child who was unreachable at a desk is suddenly unreachable for completely different reasons, because they are deep inside something they care about, and their brain is doing exactly what it was built to do. This is not unique to certain children. Research shows that intrinsic motivation, doing something because the doing itself is rewarding, activates completely different neural pathways than extrinsic motivation, which is doing something for a grade, a reward, or to avoid a punishment. The dopamine system behaves differently. The memory consolidation process is deeper. The learning sticks differently. When a child builds something because they want to, their hippocampus encodes the experience alongside the emotion, the context, and the sensory detail. When a child memorizes something because it will be on a test Friday, the encoding is shallower, the retention shorter, and the transfer to new situations weaker. The classroom is not the enemy. It is simply a tool built for a specific kind of learning, in a specific era, for specific economic goals. It was never designed to capture the full range of human intelligence. It was designed to produce workers who could follow instructions, read, write, and calculate. That was a reasonable goal for the industrial economy that built it. The world has changed. Many of the school's assumptions have not caught up. What does this mean for the child staring at the ceiling right now? It means their boredom is data, not a verdict. It means their engagement outside school is not an escape from learning, it is learning, in the form their brain prefers. It means the question worth asking is not why they cannot focus in class. The better question is, what are they building, exploring, collecting, making, imagining, or obsessing over the moment you stop watching? That thing is the signal. That thing is where the real curriculum is running. And if you want to understand how a child learns, you do not start with their grades. You start with what they cannot stop doing even when no one tells them to. Because the child who is bored in school is not a child who cannot learn. They are a child whose learning has not been found yet. The classroom said nothing was there. The garage, the backyard, the sketchbook, the game, the story, the machine they took apart and put back together said something entirely different. And one of those two things was right. The child staring at the ceiling in math class right now? They are not gone. They are somewhere else. And the question worth your full attention is not how to bring them back to the desk. It is how to follow them to wherever they already are.